I was scrolling through Facebook last week when a post stopped me cold. A parent from our community had just looked up the new US News high school rankings and was spiraling. The parent just found out their student's high school is ranked number 43 in the state. The school's college readiness score was a 40.4, and their student is considering top schools and colleges in Georgia. They are questioning if they should even bother encouraging their teen to apply and wonder if they are setting them up for rejection because we can't afford to move to a better district. Comment after comment, most of them from other panicked parents asking some of the same questions. Is my child doomed? And here's what broke my heart. Most of the focus was on the rankings as a measurement of opportunity and very little on the individual students themselves. I get it. Sometimes parents can't see any of that because a number on a website has convinced them that the zip code will determine their child's future. Today, we need to talk about high school rankings, college readiness metrics, and why you're probably panicking about the wrong thing. Welcome to the Question Mark on College podcast. I'm Mark Ruver, college admissions consultant here in Peachtree City, Georgia, and today we're going to dismantle some anxiety together. If you or someone you love has ever looked up high school rankings and felt their stomach drop, this episode's for you. So, let's start with what these rankings actually are. US News releases these high school rankings every year, and every year I get a flood of questions from worried parents. The rankings look at things like standardized test scores, AP and IB participation, let's see, test scores, graduation rates, and what they call college readiness. That last one, college readiness, now this is where everyone gets stuck because we hear college readiness and we think, oh no, my school has a college readiness score of 26.8. That means most of the students aren't prepared for college. My student must be one of those. But that's not what the metric measures. You see, college readiness, as defined by these rankings, typically means did students hit certain standardized test benchmarks? Did they take advanced coursework? Did they pass those AP exams? It's an aggregate measure of population outcomes. It's telling you about groups, not individuals. Think about it like this. If I told you that only 30% of people who go to the gym actually meet their fitness goals, would that tell you whether you specifically could get in shape? Of course not. It would tell you something about gym goers as a group, but nothing about your individual potential, your commitment, your circumstances. Here's what colleges actually look at. Now, let me tell you what that is. They don't have some database where they pull up your high school and say, oh, number 73, next application. What they do is this: they look at a document called the school profile, and every high school sends one to colleges along with the transcripts. It shows what courses are offered, how grades are distributed, what the demographics look like, what opportunities exist. Then they look at your student's transcript in that context. They ask, given what is available at this school, what did the student do? Let me tell you about two students. Student A went to the number two ranked school in our county. Exceptional school, tons of resources, 57 college readiness score. She took 7 AP courses. Sounds impressive, right? Except her school offered 21 AP courses. And when admissions officers looked at that profile, they saw someone who didn't max out opportunities. Now let's look at student B. Student B went to a school ranked fifth in the county. They offered 15 AP courses total. She took 15 of them, all of them. Then, and this is the important part, she enrolled in dual enrollment classes at a local college to challenge herself even further. Admissions officers saw someone who didn't just take what was available, she created opportunities. You see, student B got into better schools with more scholarship money, not despite her school, but because she understood how to tell her story. Here's the demographics trap, though. Here's something uncomfortable we need to acknowledge. A lot of what drives high school rankings is demographics and socioeconomics. Schools in wealthier areas tend to rank higher. Why? Well, more students can afford test prep, more families have resources for tutoring, enrichment programs, summer experiences. More students take AP courses because they're not working after school jobs to help support their families or even themselves. The ranking isn't measuring teaching quality or counseling excellence or school community. It's measuring the zip code's median income as much as anything else. And here's what makes me frustrated about this: we're letting a metric that primarily reflects demographic sorting convince parents that their kids aren't being well served or well prepared. I work with brilliant, hardworking, college ready students from schools at every point on the ranking spectrum. The school's number tells me nothing about the student sitting in front of me. But what should you actually be worried about? Okay, so if school rankings don't matter the way you think they do, what should we be paying attention to? I suggest three things. Number one, is your student taking advantage of what's available? I don't mean taking every AP course the school offers. That's actually not what colleges want to see. They want to see students making thoughtful choices about rigor in areas that matter to them. Now, if your student is interested in engineering, are they taking the highest level math and science courses available? If they're passionate about writing, are they in advanced English and maybe dual enrolling in college composition? It's about strategic challenge, not credential collecting, right? Okay. Number two, is your student building relationships with teachers? Where where teachers know their thinking, their growth, their character. Because when it comes time for recommendations, you want teachers who can write things like, "This student reminds me why I became a teacher," not "This student earned an A in my class," right? The strength of those recommendations matters far more than your school's ranking. And then number three, can your student articulate what they've learned from their educational experience? Students from schools with fewer resources actually often have an advantage here. They have stories about resourcefulness, initiative, overcoming obstacles. They can talk about what they did when the AP psychology course was canceled due to low enrollment. So they studied independently and took the exam anyway. They can describe how they started a club because their school didn't have what they needed. You see, those stories are gold in college essays. But let me tell you what I would tell that parent after reading that Facebook post. I'd say to them privately, tell me about your daughter, not about the school. I mean, about the student. And then she would likely tell me everything I needed to hear: strong student, curious mind, taking the hardest math and science courses available, building a robot that might compete nationally, teacher who called her one of the best students I've taught in 15 years. And then I'd say, your daughter is going to be absolutely fine, better than fine. Georgia Tech or UGA is going to want her because of who she is, not because of a number on a website. We want to shift the mindset from how do I overcome my school's ranking to how does my team tell their story? Because that's what this is really about your student's individual story. Now, let me quickly address something I get asked a lot. Should we actually transfer to a better ranked school? And my answer is almost always no. And here's why. When students transfer, especially in high school, they lose community, leadership positions, established teacher relationships. They arrive as the new kid who has to start over. I've watched this play out. A strong student at school A, ranked fifth in the county, with leadership in their three clubs and teacher recommendations that would make you cry. Family decides to transfer to school B, ranking first in the county. Student becomes nobody at new school, generic recommendations, no leadership positions, and worse, now they're competing in a different context where being above average isn't as distinctive. Stay where you're rooted, grow where you're planted. Now, all right, so let me tackle a few questions I've been getting about this topic recently. Okay. Question one, I've been asked, don't colleges have acceptance rate data from different high schools? Won't they see that fewer students from our school get into top colleges? Well, the answer to that is yes. They track this, but not the way you think they do. They're not comparing your child to historical acceptance rates from your school. They're evaluating your child as an individual. The only time school history really matters is if your school has a track record of sending students to a specific college and those students succeeding. That can actually help you because admissions offices trust your high school's preparation. All right, here's another question. Should I pay for extra tutoring to make up for what our school isn't providing? Well, my answer is well, maybe, but be strategic about it. If your student is struggling in a subject and needs support, then yes. If your student is doing well, but you're worried they're not being challenged enough, consider dual enrollment or online courses through accredited programs. Don't throw your money at anxiety, invest it specific gaps or opportunities. Okay, question three. Our school doesn't offer many AP courses. Will that hurt our chances? Well, my answer is only if your student doesn't take the few that are available. If your school offers five APs and your student takes two of them, that's a problem. If they take four out of five, plus some honors courses, plus maybe a dual enrollment class, now you're demonstrating initiative within your context. That's what matters. Now, here's what I want to do after listening to this episode. Step one, I want you to stop going to Google and Googling your school's ranking. I'm serious. It's not helping you make better decisions, it's just feeding anxiety. Step two, schedule a meeting with your student's counselor. Ask what the most rigorous course pathway looks like for your students' interests and abilities at their school. Get clarity on what strategic challenge means at your school. And step three, help your student build relationships with teachers and subjects they care about. Encourage them to ask questions, contribute to discussions, seek feedback. Those relationships become recommendations that matter. And if you want help developing a strategy that focuses on your students' strengths rather than your school's ranking, that's exactly what I do. So you can find me at capstoneeducationalconsultants.com and reach me there. Now, next week on the podcast, we're talking about the biggest mistake I see families make when building college lists. And no, it's not what you think. Now, if this episode helped you breathe a little easier about school rankings, share it with another parent who might be panicking right now and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I'm Mark Kruger. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.